Hey, everybody. You can see behind me that today's guest is, well, it's not actually Halloween Man, but maybe there's a little more of him in it than not. It's the creator of Halloween Man, Drew Edwards, and coming from Austin, Texas, I think, today,
Yep.
or thereabouts. Let's just, yeah. So, as we were just remembering, this is, if people haven't heard of Halloween Man, why don't you give a little background? Because I always figure creators do a better job than I will.
Halloween Man is best described as the weird adventures of a zombie superhero and his sexy mad scientist girlfriend. They battle everything from Spring-Heeled Jack, the Loch Ness Monster, the Invisible Man, evil Christmas trolls, vegetarian vampires, vampire dinosaurs. Normal, typical stories that everybody can relate to.
I mean, yeah. If I had a nickel for every time, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, and you say he's a zombie. So appearance wise, like, I know you just sent me a thing, but I'll try to find some graphics too. It's like he's half human, half skeleton on one side,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
So there's a bit of a story behind that. It's in some ways a bummer. I first started developing Halloween Man when I was fresh out of high school, and I had just moved from the Possum Kingdom area to Dallas, Texas, and I had fallen in with a gentleman named Malcolm Harris, who has a company called Maximum Comics and Games, and his primary focus actually was tabletop role playing games, but he was putting out a superhero game called Nemesis, and he wanted to do comics to tie in to the different types of characters you could play. And he knew I was a monster guy and a horror guy, so he's like, "You come up with the supernatural character." So um, I came up with the name Halloween Man, and I started developing the character and the supporting cast. And about 6 months, I want to say, into that, I was unfortunately into a car accident with that killed my twin. So I was very young, and that was devastating. And all of a sudden, I had all this trauma. And if I hadn't had the comic to give me focus,
mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to. I often say the comic saved my life. So I went to Malcolm and I said, "Hey, this has become a lot more personal. Can I, buy out my share and, take the characters and go in my own direction?" And he did, and he was understanding of the situation. But the whole look of Halloween Man, where like one part of his body is a monster and one part of his body is a normal guy, that's kind of a visual representation on how I feel inside. It's
Mhm.
very metaphorical. Of course, it's also got a certain degree of pop culture osmosis in it. We think of characters like Jonah Hex or the Terminator or the Phantom of the Opera. They all have that sort of asymmetrical look to them. But for me, it was a very important, like, look into how I was feeling at the time.
And we should also stress, though, it's not to lessen the pain. I mean, I did not know that, and it was reminding me of James O'Barr working it out into The Crow.
Yeah.
So I love the the therapeutic aspect of the work, but not to lessen that, it is a fun book. So if somebody watching this goes, "Oh, it might be too
It's
much." No, I
heavy.
mean, yeah. I had no memory if that was ever included in what I had read before.
No.
It was, yeah, okay. So yeah, it has been going on. You've been doing this book for almost 23 years, and,
Yeah.
which I don't mean to say. It's just fascinating to me because I don't think, and maybe it is just kind of because I don't think you are as well known as some. That it's a damned impressive thing to have been doing one character that long and sticking with it. We were just talking about Cerebus on our podcast and thinking, well, that flamed out a bit, but that Dave Sim accomplished 300 issues with, it was him, and Kirby and Lee or Lee and Kirby, I want to get political, were 104 issues on Fantastic Four, and so you've beaten just about everybody. So what keeps it fresh for you?
Well, for one, ultimately, it becomes more than just the one character, because when you've been doing something that long, it becomes this whole universe. You have Halloween Man's girlfriend Lucy, Belladonna, which is like she's a trans half demon assassin. There's a man goat who has the powers of a man-sized goat. Like we have all these different characters that I can now dive into, and different genres that I can dip into. So like I have kind of created this fully functioning superhero universe that is unto itself. It is a weird way to make a career. Like I think I've come about this comics thing, the long way around. When I tell people how long I've been doing it, a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, you must be very successful." But like, truth be told, I didn't really start to get any kind of recognition until like the last 5 years, and that's great, but that's ultimately not why I was doing it. I was doing it because I loved it, and comics are my calling. Like I
Right.
believe in the format of comics.
You're a true artist, and I appreciate hearing, and that is like one of the highest compliments I can give. I think that I appreciate hearing that you love comics, because that is when I recommend to people. It's I just keep saying that, like I might not make time for a big novel, but you give me a graphic novel, sequence of like,
Done.
Yeah. So, and that's how I feel. I always make time for comics, and I don't know what it is about the form for me as a consumer that I just love that. So, in the last 5 years, you say you've gotten a little more recognition. I think distribution for people that are independent as yourself is the hard part, and so I think that's why we're having this conversation today. Really, although it's long overdue, as I said off camera. We've sort of danced around knowing each other for almost all of your 23 years as a professional comics creator, and yet never met. So, thank heavens for the internet. But I know that I was picking up, I think maybe not the most recent arc yet, but that I have picked up collections of Halloween Man through Comixology. And that's where I think most of perhaps your newfound interest has come, because the internet has made it a little easier to find things.
Yeah.
What we're here because you're actually launching with a new digital comics organization, and it's called globalcomics.com.
Yep.
So let's talk about that.
So I don't want to get too much into the inside baseball of it all, but everybody who follows the comic book industry has been aware of the changes in Comixology over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was for a long time a very harmonious relationship. There's a lot of great people that work in that company, but it wasn't working for me anymore. So I started really as late as last October, when I was at New York Comic Con. I started talking to other publishers, and I was actually trying to find a print publisher. I was like, well, I can get back into doing like a more traditional route with this, but Global, when I started talking to them, and in fact they approached me, which was nice. But when I started talking to them, it was nice to talk to people that were just positive about the future of comics. They have a lot of ideas they're going to implement, and they were very much about pushing creator owned and indie stuff. And that they were going to be my partners in this, and active partners instead of passive, which is what happens with a lot of small publishers. And the deal that we have going on right now is I am in the process, and probably by the end of the week we'll have the whole thing up. I am taking all 23 years worth of material, and I am putting it up on the Global Comics platform for free. You have no reason to not read Halloween Man. You have no reason not to check out Global Comics. This is an incentive for you to engage with both things. It's been, just with the comics that I have put up, which, right now is stuff from the era when Halloween Man was a web comic. All that stuff, we have already had thousands of readers jump on this now. And I'm looking, we're now, as of this recording at October 2nd, we're not even, halfway through the month yet. And I'm looking forward to where this is going. And I have to say, like, the global guys have been great because they're just as pumped about Halloween Man as I am. And that's nice. That's just a beautiful feeling when you have people that believe in the format of comics just as much as you.
Which is indeed great. I'm sorry, I was just quickly adding the Global Comics across the bottom here. There was a typo, so if you were watching this earlier, do not go ComX. It's comics.com. And that, you've said a couple of things that really are interesting to me. One, it's focused on indie creators. You had contacted me a few days ago, and I poked around, and there are some impressive publishers. Now, the big two, if they still are the big two, but a Globocorp comics are not there. But again, I think the thing is, if you want to find them, you can find them anywhere.
Yep.
And if you want to go and find some really eclectic stuff, and I'll dare say another 10-cent word, esoteric comics, but also just good indie, because in this case, again, people, I do know what I speak. Halloween Man is just, it's fun. And if you're like me and you have this horror bent, my podcast producer just said, you watch a lot more horror than I do. And I'm like, are you kidding? It's so much of a relaxation from the world right now. So I've really gotten into it in the past couple of years. But I had read this before. And so, this is exciting and a greater reach. So, the other thing with the indie creator piece I got to ask is, with a character like this, and horror is on the upswing in the popular culture, and of course, if it's on the upswing in the popular culture, then every studio is going to start looking at it. Do you have plans to take Halloween Man to other media, or then the Global Comics piece is, do you retain all rights, or is this a split with them for being their platform?
I still own Halloween Man. Like, they are. It's very similar to the Image deal. They are about supporting characters and creators. They're not out to fleece anybody dry of their rights to their hard-earned creation, which is something I'm very protective of. This is my baby, and it's been with me so long that if it was a kid, I would be putting it through college at this point. So,
which is expensive, by the way, because I'm in the process of it. But okay, and yeah, because this, to me, not only did you talk about the personal origins, but I believe your wife is the mad scientist character, essentially, and so
yes,
your life is, it's a tangled web, shall we say, in horror terms, right?
Yeah. It's so that character Lucy, she actually existed before I met Jamie, and they're very, the thing about Jamie, that she has 100% in common with Lucy, is they're both polymaths. Like, um, Jamie, if she wants to figure out a skill, she can just pick it up. She's a musician primarily, and I remember one time that we were on tour in Spain, and we were actually um, staying in an old castle of all things. And we got in there, and their oven wasn't put together, so she just got on her phone, looked up how to, repair an oven, and just did it. And that's kind of how she is. Like, if she needs to know something, she just soaks it up like a sponge. And that's also essentially Lucy's superpower. It's the what I call the Doc Savage superpower. And
You just said the magic words, my friend. I know that I'm followed by a lot of people that, well, the remaining 30 of us that know who Doc Savage is and love him, they're
big
all on
influence on
they all
me.
come to
So,
Fanboy Planet. So,
good.
well, and makes sense that you are friends with David Avalone, who,
Yeah,
again, he does not pay me to say this. I think in comics, he is the best Doc Savage writer of the last 20 years, at least.
true
Probably 30.
story.
I'll go so, so he got it right. Others have gotten close. Because I don't want to besmirch some great talent, but he got it right with the Ring of Fire. So, well, this is really cool. I know this is the beautiful thing. It is a Sunday, but you are not resting. This is you are taking time out of a workday to finish or to work on comics. So I gotta let you go. But Drew, thank you. It's been great. Keep in touch. Certainly, and I gotta say, legally, I am not in any way affiliated with globalcomics.com. This is me just as the enthusiast of loving to be able to throw a spotlight on creators. And, so you do want to be able to hold up there when you're ready for more. But in the meantime, globalcomics.com, you go to Halloween Man, that's 20 years plus of comics for free.
Yep.
That's I'm just you're crazy, Drew. Like an old used car commercial. Your prices are insane.
Well, I putting them up on Global has been like a nice walk down memory lane. Like, I haven't looked at some of these stories in probably a decade, and thankfully, I feel like most of them are pretty good. So, I and they are, it's I have to stress as well, like, it's a fun book. Like, if you like monsters, if you like Silver Age comics, if you like sexy ladies, like, this has got all of that. It's got heart. It's got a lot of history, so you can dive in and discover this crazy new comic book universe.
So please do, everybody. Thank you, Drew, and
Thank
we'll
you.
keep in touch.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, just want to add a couple of things that Drew mentioned to me after we stopped recording, and that is, of course, globalcomics.com. We talked about this, but I had forgotten to ask him about, for those of us who really like having a book in our hands, and I know I'm not the only one, that in 2023, though don't know exactly when, Global Comics and SourcePoint Press are going to team, and they will be printing books. So independent creators who are on globalcomics.com can print their trade paperbacks through SourcePoint. So you can look for Halloween Man there, but also indieplanet.com, not Fanboy Planet, indieplanet.com, INDIE planet.com currently has trades of Halloween Man. So again, it's just a fun book, so I encourage you to check it out. I've probably said that too many times, but believe me, I'm not affiliated. I am just enthusiastic about things that are different viewpoints in the industry, and Drew has been doing great work for a long time. I think you figured that out. So thanks.
Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any Fanboy Planet video content. And visit fanboyplanet.com for other features, reviews, interviews, previews, and of course, listening to the Fanboy Planet podcast. And remember, use your powers for good.